My ex-GF said, I'm not cheating, I'm exploring options. Stop being insecure and chose a freeloading coworker who lived rent-free while draining her money. Now, she's broke, evicted, and stalking me with roses and creepy notes. Hey Reddit, so I, 29 male, never thought I'd be the guy posting here, but life handed me a story that feels straight out of some messy drama show. Long relationship, live-in girlfriend, everything looked fine on the outside. Until it wasn't. Let's just say I found out exactly how far someone can go when boring and stable isn't good enough for them. And yeah, things got way crazier than I expected. You ever look back at a relationship and realize it didn't crash and burn in one night? Nah, it's usually like a slow leak in a tire. You don't notice at first, then one day you're stuck on the side of the road wondering how the hell you got there. That's what being with Mia, 27 female, turned into. When we first got together, things were solid. Simple. Friday nights were pizza, dumb movies, and her stealing my hoodie like she didn't already have a whole closet. She liked that I wasn't chasing bars or pretending to be some wannabe rock star. I was steady. I had plans. I was actually building a life. Apparently, stability is cute in the beginning, until Instagram convinces you you're missing out on yacht parties and spontaneous trips to Europe funded by maxed-out credit cards. Mia got sucked right into that. One day she's telling me how much she loves our apartment. The next she's calling it too suburban, like we were living in a retirement home. Let me set the record straight. The place was nice. Decent kitchen, balcony, 2 bedrooms. I even mounted the damn TV myself, straight lines and everything. But suddenly, it was too small for her vision. Yeah, because apparently her vision was to be a discount influencer. And here's the thing. When we agreed to move in together, we had this arrangement. Lease would be in her name. She'd cover rent. I'd pay for everything else. Groceries, bills, streaming, gas, dates, little trips. Honestly, it evened out. Back then, Mia had a steady office job, so paying rent wasn't an issue. It wasn't glamorous, just a mid-level admin role, but it covered her side of the deal without me worrying she'd come up short. She liked pointing out that she paid the rent like it made her independent, even though I was basically keeping everything else afloat. At the time, I didn't care. It seemed balanced enough, and honestly, it gave her that sense of control she was always chasing. Joke's on her, though, because that setup came back around later in ways she didn't expect. We also kept a little joint account just for household autopays, but I was the one funding most of it. Anyway, the quiet nights in she used to love suddenly weren't enough. She'd scroll Instagram, see some guy posting rooftop cocktails with his girlfriend, and immediately start side-eyeing me like I was the problem. Look at Mark and Chloe, she'd say, shoving her phone in my face. They're always traveling. They don't just sit at home doing nothing. Yeah, Mia, because Mark's trust fund does all the traveling, not Mark. Then there was her coworker Landon. He goes to a rooftop bar one time, and suddenly he thinks he's Casanova, and I'm chopped liver. He's so spontaneous, she kept saying. I don't know. Maybe because I wasn't pulling random rooftop bars out of my butt on a Tuesday night after work. But sure, let's crown Landon king of romance. And here's what kills me. I tried. I really did. Planned a whole weekend trip to the coast. Booked us a nice dinner downtown. Even made reservations like some suit and tie guy. You know what I got? This is nice, but it doesn't feel like them. Yeah, because I guess I should have brought a camera crew and pretended to be in a Netflix travel doc. Meanwhile, I'm over here doing real boyfriend work. When her dad got sick, I drove her to the hospital every damn day. I picked up extra shifts to surprise her with a trip to her favorite city. When she wanted to quit her job and be a freelance photographer, I covered the bills so she could find herself. I was basically the safety net holding her whole circus act together. And how did she see it? Not as loyalty, not as love, but as me being too easy. I started catching little digs, like when she'd sigh and roll her eyes because I was home on time. Imagine that. A man comes home every night, doesn't disappear for days, doesn't lie about where he is, and somehow that's a flaw. She once said, "You're just predictable, Luke." I laughed and said, "Yeah, sorry for not giving you heart palpitations wondering if I'm alive at 3 a.m. Thing is, she didn't even laugh back. She was serious. That was the first time I thought, damn, this girl doesn't want steady. She wants chaos, but with Wi-Fi and someone else paying the electric bill. And she started hanging with this new group of friends, the type who think a credit score is oppression and debt is a personality trait. They hyped her up, told her she deserved more excitement. One night she came home late, smelling like overpriced perfume samples, and started ranting about how our life didn't feel like the life she imagined. I said, "Mia, Your imagination needs a budget because reality doesn't take exposure bucks. She didn't laugh at that either. At that point, I wasn't even mad. I was observing, calculating. You can tell when someone's half checked out but still using your Netflix password. I started noticing where my money was going, how she'd flinch every time I didn't instantly agree with her, how she'd compare me to some coworker's fake spontaneous lifestyle. It was obvious where the tide was pulling. But instead of confronting her then, I let her play it out. Because when someone's that entitled and delusional, the rope they hang themselves with, you don't need to hand it to them. They're already braiding it themselves. That's what I kept telling myself whenever she strutted around like she was living in some reality show. All I had to do was wait, keep my eyes open, and let her dig the hole. The shovel hit the dirt on a random Tuesday night. We were both home. She said she was just grabbing water and left her phone on the bed. Normally, I wouldn't touch it. I don't go snooping. But when the screen lights up and you see a message that literally says, "Can't wait to get away from him this weekend?" Yeah, my brain didn't exactly go, "Oh, must be her mom." It was from Landon. Of course, Mr. Rooftop Cocktails himself. My hand hovered over the phone like it was some cursed object. But then instinct kicked in. I opened it. Scroll up, scroll down. The man wasn't just flirting. He was booking weekends, cracking jokes about her boring boyfriend, talking like he'd already replaced me. And Mia? She wasn't resisting. She was cheerleading. Full on, I can't wait to get away from him type energy. Reading that stuff didn't make me want to scream. It made me want to laugh. Because here was this girl who spent months whining that I was too safe and too predictable. And her grand solution was to run off with the human version of a punchline. She walked back in, glass of water in hand, and froze when she saw me holding the phone. "What are you doing?" she snapped like I just stole her diary. "That's my private stuff." I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even move. I just looked at her and said, "Private stuff like planning a cabin getaway with Landon?" Her face didn't go pale. She didn't stumble or panic like you see in movies. "No," she rolled her eyes. "Okay, so you saw it," she said, plopping down on the bed like a queen dismissing a servant. "What do you want me to say? He's interesting. He's exciting. He takes chances. You're just too easy." Easy. That word. Like being the guy who kept her lights on, backed her dumb freelance career, drove her to the hospital for her dad, meant nothing. She thought she was dropping truth bombs, but all I heard was entitlement dripping out of her like a leaky faucet. I could have blown up right there, yelled, demanded answers, but honestly, that would have given her too much credit. Instead, something clicked in me. A switch flipped. It wasn't rage, it wasn't sadness, it was strategy. "Cool," I said, calm as hell. "Good luck with him." That was it. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't try to guilt trip her into seeing what she was losing. I just got up, grabbed my duffel bag from the closet, and started loading it. Essentials only. Clothes, laptop, important papers, my watch, the stuff I actually paid for. She watched me pack like I was performing a magic trick she didn't understand. "Where are you going?" she demanded, her voice rising. "Not your problem," I said. "Lease is in your name, remember? So congrats, you just got yourself a new roommate. It's you and Landon now." Her jaw tightened. She knew exactly what that meant. As I mentioned before, when we set up the lease, she insisted it go under her name because she wanted independence. I agreed because I didn't care whose name was on the paper. I was paying for everything else anyway. Rent was her thing. Bills and lifestyle were mine. But now, that setup was a loaded trap, and she was standing right in the middle of it. While she sputtered about not leaving like this, I was already moving. Quietly, calculated. First thing I did, logged into our joint account, yanked my share into my personal one, killed every auto pay I was covering, and pulled my cards off the account. Basically left her standing there with bills bouncing like rubber balls. Next, canceled all the subscriptions I was paying for. Netflix, Spotify, etc. Gone. Even that Peloton membership she used twice? Canceled. Grocery delivery? Bye. She wanted excitement? She could start with the thrilling experience of paying her own bills. And I didn't slam the door when I left. I didn't make some dramatic speech. I slipped out like a professional hitman. Shoes on, car keys in hand, duffel over my shoulder. The only sound was the door clicking shut behind me. Clean. Final. By the time I pulled up at my buddy Austin's place, I wasn't shaking or crying. I was smirking. Because while Mia was about to figure out that independence means watching overdue notices pile up, I was already a step ahead. I wasn't the broken guy she thought she left behind. I was the guy who played chess while she was busy playing dress up with rooftop Landon. The best part? She didn't even realize I left her holding the bag. Literally. Lease in her name, rent due, bills still hitting the account I froze. Her influencer lifestyle now being powered by her credit card instead of me. And Landon? Something told me the guy wasn't going to be pulling out his wallet anytime soon. As I sat on Austin's couch, watching him scroll through movies, I thought about Mia's last words to me before I walked out. You're just too easy. Yeah, Mia. Easy to leave. That line was still bouncing around in my head the next morning when my phone lit up like it was trying to warn me of an incoming tornado. 10 missed calls. All Mia. At first, I ignored them. She wanted excitement? Let her be excited with Landon. But then she sent a text that made me actually laugh. You can't just walk away like that. We had a deal. A deal. Like our relationship was some lease agreement with fine print. Against my better judgment, I picked up when she called again just because I wanted to hear what kind of mental gymnastics she was about to pull. The second I answered, she was already yelling. You can't just vanish, Luke. You're responsible for the bills. That was our arrangement. I pay rent, you pay everything else. You don't just get to stop because you're upset. I had to pull the phone away from my ear because I was laughing. Mia, do you hear yourself? You sound like a landlord trying to collect rent from a tenant who moved out. She ignored that and doubled down. You're being immature. I wasn't even cheating. I was exploring options. Stop being insecure. She continued. It's your fault. You've gotten boring. You just do the same thing every week. No passion, no spontaneity. You made me feel trapped. Oh, exploring options. What are you, Dora the Explorer? I said, snickering into the phone. So what? I was like the trial version of a boyfriend. And Landon's the premium upgrade? Let me guess. The upgrade comes with ads and costs your entire bank account. Silence. For once, she didn't have a comeback ready. I kept going. You know what's funny, Mia? No, wait, I should call you Mia the Explorer. You talk about passion like it's a subscription box. But real life isn't Instagram stories. It's paying bills on time, being reliable, actually showing up. I did all that. And you called it boring. Now you've got Landon, who thinks his spontaneous means forgetting his wallet at dinner. Her voice cracked a little. You're twisting things. This isn't fair. You can't just walk away from your responsibilities. Oh, I can. And I did. Lease is in your name, remember? You wanted independence. Congratulations. You just got it. Independence comes with overdue notices. By the way, I hung up before she could spin up another speech. Then I blocked her number because I wasn't about to spend the week listening to her spin fairy tales. My buddy Austin, sitting next to me on the couch, raised an eyebrow. That sounded fun. Yeah, I said, tossing the phone onto the table. She's calling it exploring options. Like she's shopping for shoes, not sleeping around. Over the next couple of weeks, Mia was already in full upgrade mode. Social media was flooded with pictures of her and Landon. Dinner plates that looked like abstract art. Wine glasses. Selfies at hotel lobbies. Captions like, finally living my best life, hard eyes sparkles. People bought it. For a little while. Friends messaged me saying, damn, she moved on quick. Like I hadn't already known. But behind the curtain, she was footing the bill for all of it. Rent, utilities, groceries, dinners, Ubers, you name it. Landon was basically a professional couch decoration. Austin's girlfriend even spotted them at a restaurant and texted him play-by-play. Mia paid the bill. Landon didn't even reach for his wallet. He ordered the most expensive thing on the menu, too. Classic. And the cherry on top? He'd already moved into her place, but guess who wasn't pitching in for rent? It didn't take long for cracks to show. Mia started complaining to her friends that life is so expensive lately. Gee, wonder why. Meanwhile, Landon kept living like an unpaid intern in her apartment, eating her food, leaving his shoes in the living room, inviting himself to her fridge. The dude was freeloading like it was an Olympic sport. But Mia kept up appearances. She had to prove to the world that she was living some grand adventure. So, she decided to throw a little party to show off her new life. By that point, the shine was already fading, bills piling up, Landon barely lifting a finger. And that's when the real twist hit. Halfway through the night, Miranda showed up, with Landon. Not with Landon as in they arrived together by coincidence. With Landon, as in hand on his arm, whispering in his ear type of with. Miranda was one of Mia's closest friends, always hyping her up. The kind of friend who says, yes, queen, dump him before hearing the full story. Mia lost it. Full meltdown in front of everyone. Screaming, demanding explanations, crying about betrayal. Landon just shrugged, said something like, you're too much drama and don't meet my standards anymore, and walked out with Miranda. Left Mia standing in her own apartment, surrounded by people pretending to look at their phones because the secondhand embarrassment was unbearable. When Austin told me about it the next day, I couldn't stop grinning. So Landon downgraded her to Miranda, huh? Looks like it, Austin said. Mia was hysterical, kept saying she sacrificed everything for him. Sacrificed everything? She sacrificed your groceries for him, Austin. Let's not make her a martyr. The irony was too perfect. Mia dumped me for excitement and ended up getting dumped by excitement's understudy. And it wasn't just betrayal. It was public, humiliating betrayal. She wanted passion. She got drama. And me? I was chilling. Rent-free at Austin's. No bills tied to her anymore. No emotional baggage weighing me down. I was watching the whole thing play out from a safe distance like it was reality TV, except I wasn't the one getting humiliated on camera. And honestly, that was the best part. Nothing for me to defend, nothing for me to explain. Mia was running her circus, and all I had to do was sit back and let the monkeys scream. But Mia being Mia, she wasn't about to just eat her own mess. She had to grab a microphone and try to reframe the whole disaster. A couple days after Landon and Miranda were spotted together, I started getting texts from random friends. Yo, Mia's saying you were controlling. She's telling people you stalked her phone. Did you really stop her from following her dreams? That last one almost made me choke on my coffee. I literally funded her so-called dreams. Paid bills so she could buy a camera she barely used. Tagged along to photography shoots that were just her posing against brick walls, and never once told her no. But now I was the villain in her little pity script. And the phone thing? Please. The message lit up right in front of me. I didn't go Mission Impossible on her. But in her retelling, I was creeping through her stuff like some jealous spy. Here's the thing though. I didn't respond. I didn't post clapbacks. I didn't DM people begging them to believe me. Because I knew how Mia operated. She couldn't stop herself. Give her a week, and she'd expose herself better than I ever could. And sure enough, the cracks formed fast. Miranda, now busy hanging off Landon's arm, wasn't exactly defending Mia's honor anymore. She started spilling details. How Mia had been chasing Landon behind my back. How she bragged about exploring options like it was empowering. And how she called me boring while I was the one bankrolling her lifestyle. Once Miranda started talking, others chimed in. The group chat receipts were ugly. Then Mia went public with her big victim essay. Instagram, black and white crying selfie, caption about escaping toxicity, and never let anyone dim your light. I swear she must have copy-pasted from a breakup quotes page. At first, the sympathy poured in. A couple girls left comments like, "Stay strong, queen." But then the tide shifted. Wait, didn't you cheat? Didn't Miranda just say you were seeing Landon while still with Luke? Girl, you lost the guy who paid your bills. That's not toxic. That's support. By the next morning, the post was gone, but the screenshots were everywhere. The sympathy train derailed in record time, and Mia didn't stop there. She tried going one-on-one. I got texts. I wasn't cheating, Luke. I was just seeing if there were better options. You made me feel stuck. I didn't reply, but Austin and I roasted it for a solid 10 minutes. Options, I said. She talks about boyfriends like she's shopping at Costco. She even cornered mutual friends in person. One guy told me she sat across from him at a cafe and launched into a rant about how I was too safe, too predictable, and that I never pushed her to grow. He said he nodded politely just to get out of there before his coffee got cold. And the cherry on top? I ran into her at the grocery store. Total accident. I was grabbing chicken breasts and protein powder. She appeared in the aisle, cart almost empty, hair thrown up, oversized hoodie that looked like it had seen better days. "Oh," she said, fake surprised. "Luke." "Mia," I nodded, tossing a pack into my cart. She tried this soft smile. "I never meant to hurt you. I felt stifled. I couldn't resist." "Yeah, paying your bills and backing your dream career must have been suffocating. My bad." Her face dropped, but I wasn't done. "Don't worry, though. I've been working on a rebrand. Next girlfriend gets fireworks and a pet tiger. Gotta keep things spicy." I walked away before she could even respond. Didn't break stride, didn't look back. That was the last time I gave her even 30 seconds on purpose. Anything after that wasn't me giving her attention. It was her forcing herself into my space and me shutting it down. The best part? I didn't need to defend myself at all. Mia's controlling ex story collapsed the moment other people compared notes. Every lie she told just made her look worse. And I didn't have to lift a finger. That's the line I kept thinking about every time someone gave me a new update on Mia. Her whole empire of fake confidence was crumbling, and all I did was go to the gym and cook my own dinner. See, Once you rip drama out of your life, you suddenly have all this free time and energy. I wasn't pacing around wondering what she was doing or blowing money trying to impress someone who couldn't be impressed. I was stacking wins. Work gave me a bigger project to run. I was hitting PRs at the gym, and even Austin's girlfriend told me I looked healthier and weirdly less angry. I didn't even realize how much mental space Mia was renting in my head until she was gone. And once I cleared her out, I started thriving. It was like cleaning out a closet. You never notice how much junk you had until it's on the curb. Mia, meanwhile, was drowning in the junk she created. At first, she tried to keep up the show. More Instagram posts, little night out selfies, pretending she was still living large. But the captions got shorter, and the photos started looking cheaper. Gone were the fancy dinners and hotel bars. Now it was mirror pics in her bathroom with the caption self-care. Everyone could see the downgrade. Behind the scenes, though, things were uglier. Since the lease was in her name, she was stuck with rent. No Luke money, no Landon freeloading help. Just Mia versus reality. And reality doesn't care about your aesthetic. And then, like clockwork, the last safety net disappeared. Mia lost her job. Not fired for anything dramatic, just one of those department restructuring things. But to her, it was the ultimate betrayal. The same girl who once bragged about covering rent suddenly had no paycheck. Watching from the outside, it almost felt scripted. She traded stability for chaos, and right when reality came knocking, she didn't even have her office job to keep her afloat. That's when everything started free-falling. The overdue rent, the utilities getting cut, and her scrambling for sympathy wherever she could get it. One of my buddies sent me a photo of a notice taped to her apartment door. Big red letters, pay past due or face eviction. He said he walked by and saw it when visiting a friend in the same building. Apparently, she was 2 months behind already. I wish I could say I felt bad, but honestly, I laughed. Loud. Because I remembered her yelling at me on the phone about our deal, how I was supposed to cover the bills while she did the least. Well, congratulations, Mia. Now you're doing the least and getting the least in return. And she didn't just owe rent. Mutual friends said she was late on utilities, too. One girl said Mia showed up at her place to hang out, but ended up asking if she could shower because her hot water had been shut off. Nothing screams living your best life like mooching hot showers off your friends. Still, Mia's pride wouldn't let her admit the truth outright. She started sliding little pity lines into conversations like, yeah, rent's insane right now, don't you think? Or groceries cost so much these days. Everyone knew what she was fishing for. Nobody was biting. Then came her attempt to rope me back in. Out of nowhere, I get a text. I know you don't care anymore, but you left me with everything. If you were a decent person, you'd at least help me until I get back on my feet. I stared at it, grinning, because it was peak Mia. In her mind, I wasn't her ex-boyfriend who owed her nothing. I was her abandoned sponsor. Like she expected me to still fund her life after she publicly traded me for Landon. I didn't type a long speech. I just sent back one line. You wanted independence, Mia. Now you've got it. With interest. Blocked her again. Didn't even wait for a reply. And the timing couldn't have been better, because while she was drowning, I was climbing. I moved into a new apartment, nicer than the one we shared, closer to work, and fully mine. No deals, no shared accounts, no drama. Just peace. I was back into running, signed up for a race, and every day I woke up lighter. Not because I lost her, but because I lost the weight of carrying someone who didn't want to be carried. Mia, on the other hand, was getting lonelier by the day. The same friends who used to hype her up stopped answering calls because every conversation turned into a rant about how unfair life was. People started avoiding her at group hangouts. One guy told me she showed up to brunch uninvited and spent the whole time complaining about money, then tried to split the bill unevenly, so everyone else covered her share. And then there was Miranda. Oh, Miranda. She and Landon weren't exactly subtle. They were posting their own couple pics now, looking smug and stupid together. And Mia had to watch her ex-freeloader and her ex-friend flaunt the exact life she thought she'd stolen from me. I didn't even need to celebrate. The universe was doing it for me. The real cherry on top? One of Mia's old coworkers saw me at the gym and came over. She said, "Wow, you look amazing. Mia used to say you were boring, but you honestly seem happier than I've ever seen her." And I just smiled and said, "Yeah, being boring pays the bills." By that point, Mia wasn't just broke. She was socially bankrupt too. No Landon, no Miranda, no me, no friends willing to carry her weight. Just Mia versus overdue rent notices and a fridge that probably had expired ketchup and almond milk. And the irony? All she had to do was appreciate what she had. She could have had steady, loyal, boring me, but she wanted chaos. And now, she had exactly that. Chaos, unpaid. And me? I was too busy living my life to even care beyond the occasional laugh. Because once again, I didn't have to lift a finger. That's what I kept telling myself. And then life decided to prove me right in ways I didn't even ask for. Mia finally got kicked out of the apartment. The eviction notice wasn't just a warning. She ignored it until the deadline hit, and the landlord tossed her. She ended up back at her parents' place. And trust me, they weren't rolling out a welcome mat. Word going around was that they were embarrassed, tired of her drama, and basically told her, "You made your bed, now lie in it." Except now she was lying in their guest room, rent-free, whining about how unfair everything was. But here's the thing about people like Mia. Rock bottom isn't enough. She had to start digging. Not long after the eviction, I noticed mutuals getting weird with me. A buddy texted, "Hey man, Mia asked me for your new address. Said she just wanted closure. I didn't tell her, don't worry." I shrugged it off. Then another friend told me the same thing. Eventually, someone cracked. Because a week later, it started. First, it was a single rose left at my door. No note, just sitting there like some cheesy rom-com gesture. I rolled my eyes, tossed it in the trash. Didn't think much of it. But then it escalated. 2 days later, 3 roses. With a handwritten note. "You were the only one who really loved me. Please, let's talk." I crumpled it up and moved on. Then came the full bouquet. Another note. Messier handwriting this time. "We're meant to be. I can change. Don't throw away what we had." It was crossing into stalker territory. I snapped pictures of everything, just in case. Next, she started showing up. One night, I caught her standing by my car in the parking lot, pretending she just happened to be there. Another time, I walked out to grab groceries, and she was across the street staring like she was auditioning for a horror movie. When I confronted her, she plastered on a fake smile and said, "Wow, small world." "Yeah, Mia, small world. You standing outside my building 3 nights a week? Real small." At that point, friends started warning me constantly. "She's asking everyone where you go, what your schedule is." One guy said she even tried to get my running route out of him, like she was going to pop up mid-jog with a sign. The breaking point was one Thursday night. I got home from work, arms full of groceries, and there she was, standing at my door with another handful of roses. Eyes red, hair a mess, voice shaking. "Luke, please. I'm sorry. I was stupid. Landon was a mistake. Miranda betrayed me. I can't live like this. Just give me another chance. I'll do whatever you want." I put my groceries down, looked her dead in the eyes, and said, "Mia, you need to stop. This isn't love, it's harassment. Whatever we had is over. You need to move on, because I already did." She started crying harder, dropping roses all over the hallway like a bad movie scene. "I can change. I'll be better this time." I shook my head. "You already showed me who you are, and I'm not interested." Then I grabbed my groceries, stepped past her, and shut the door. No yelling, no drama. Just done. But she didn't stop. The next morning, another note shoved under my door. "If I can't have you, nobody can." That's when I stopped playing nice. I pulled out all the photos, all the notes, the timestamps, the texts, everything. Walked into the courthouse and filed for a temporary restraining order. The judge didn't even hesitate. "This is stalking behavior. Granted." Boom. Paper signed, order in place. Suddenly, Mia wasn't a desperate ex anymore. She was a case file. When she got served, her parents were furious. I heard from mutuals that her mom was embarrassed beyond belief, saying stuff like, "You're humiliating this family, Mia." Her dad apparently told her, "We warned you about pushing people too far." She went off on them, screamed, cried, played the victim. But it didn't matter. The paper was in place, and she was legally forced to back off. But Mia didn't stop there. She jumped straight on social media, posting some vague, "the system is against me" rant with a black and white crying selfie. Claimed she was just passionate and misunderstood. The comment section roasted her. One guy literally wrote, "Passionate? That's what stalkers say." Another, "Girl, you left roses at his door like it's a horror movie." She deleted it within hours, but screenshots were already making the rounds. And me? I wasn't scared. I wasn't angry. I was relieved. Relieved that I drew the line, stood tall, and reminded her, and everyone else, that I wasn't her doormat anymore. She once told me I was desperate for her love. But look at how it flipped. She was the one leaving roses like some unhinged admirer, scribbling notes at 2 a.m., begging for scraps of attention. I didn't feel hate. I didn't even feel pity. Just peace. She became the exact thing she accused me of. And it was never clearer that walking away was the smartest thing I ever did. Austin's wedding couldn't have come at a better time. Out under oak trees, string lights hanging overhead, music humming in the background. It was the kind of peaceful, steady vibe Mia once called boring. Funny how boring felt like paradise compared to the circus I'd walked out of. I was standing by the bar, drink in hand, when I noticed her. Mia. It took me a second to even recognize her. Hair messy, dress hanging loose like it didn't fit right, makeup smudged around her eyes. She looked hollow. The confident, smug version of her I once knew was gone. What stood there was someone beaten down by her own choices. Her eyes locked on me, and I knew what was coming. She started weaving through the crowd, ignoring the awkward looks her old friends were giving her. When she reached me, her voice came out shaky. "Luke, you look good, better than ever." I didn't smile, didn't flinch, just looked at her and said, "You're breaking the restraining order right now?" Her face went pale. She blinked like I'd just slapped her. "Luke, please, I just want to talk." "You don't get to talk to me," I cut in. Calm, flat. "That's what the order's for. Remember? You crossed every line. Roses at my door, stalking me, notes under my door. You don't get another shot. Not here, not ever." She fumbled, trying to recover. "I made mistakes." Landon was a mistake. Miranda betrayed me. I lost everything. I was stupid. I miss you. I miss us. I let her spill it out, and then I gave her the same steady tone that once carried her through her chaos. Except now it wasn't love, it was finality. "You don't miss me, Mia. You miss the stability I gave you. You miss the bills being paid, the fridge being full, and not having to worry about eviction notices. You miss the version of me that carried you while you mocked me. But that version is gone, and you pushed him out yourself." Her eyes welled with tears. She tried reaching for my arm, but I stepped back. "I meant what I said the night I filed that order. You need to stop. Because the only thing more pathetic than the way you treated me is how you're treating yourself now." And that's when it happened. The final nail. Across the room, Landon strolled in, arm in arm with Miranda. Mia froze. She saw it too. Her ex-upgrade and her old best friend, looking smug and oblivious, laughing like nothing in the world had ever gone wrong for them. Mia's lip trembled. She looked between them and me, like she was waiting for me to swoop in and save her from the humiliation. But I didn't move. I just gave her one last look, calm, detached, almost bored, and said, "You wanted excitement. That's what you picked. And now? This is the cost. Don't ever involve me again." Then I turned back to the bar, ordered another drink, and didn't look back. She stood there a moment longer, shoulders hunched, eyes wet, before slinking off into the crowd. People noticed. Whispers spread. The girl who once bragged about exploring options had become the cautionary tale. And me? I felt lighter than I ever had. Not because I'd humiliated her. I didn't need to. She'd done it all herself. I just enforced boundaries and walked away. Mia wasn't my story anymore. She was a footnote. And the chapter she thought she controlled? I closed it myself.